Okay, this is the GTX 1066GB, and this is the recommended, well, not the recommended GPU, but the minimum recommended GPU for this game. And it looks to me like we might already be having VRAM issues. These are at the maximum settings at 1080p. I'll show you in a second, but let's get through this first little chunk of combat. You can see us dropping below 30 FPS. Now, I skipped the combat tutorials, so I don't actually know how to play this game. I wanted to get out of the tutorial section and start benchmarking for you guys. So clearly, this is not the graphic settings we want to be at. So let's take a look at what's available. Now, the first thing I should point out is that this game has a dynamic resolution scaler. That's this FPS Priority Mode, which I turned off. If you turn it on, the game is going to try to reach your FPS target by rendering the game below your monitor's native resolution. And if you don't understand that, you might not understand why your game looks so terrible. Notice if I turn this on, this game is now running, I would guess at about 50%, I think that's as low as it'll go, of 1080p. Meaning we are probably at below 720p right now would be my guess. Again, that is just a guess. Now, even with that turned on, let's go ahead and see what happens as we get into combat. Now, the actual graphic settings are up at their maximum values right now. And you can see that the memory is probably an issue on the 6GB card.
Whatever doesn't kill, we need to patch ourselves up.
And we're clearly still dropped into the 40s there. So I would say that this is absolutely not going to be a game that we can play with the graphics settings turned up. And it's these texture details that I think we're going to have to get rid of. So I think we are going to have to return to the title screen in order to lower those texture settings. It looked like they were locked while we were actually in the game. So, I'll have to go back to System Settings, we're going to go to the Graphics Settings, and this time we are going to go down to the Standard preset. Notice that turns the FPS Priority Mode on and targets 60 FPS. I'm going to go ahead and go to 120 but turn that off. So once again we're going to be seeing what the game is actually able to do, and then we can kick on the render scaling and see what that looks like. So let's hop back into where we were. By the way, I also have tested this out on my RTX 3080, although since that's a 4K video, this one's probably going to get published first. But I'll tell you, it's not performing well even on an RTX 3080. Okay, we're down here to the standard settings. It looks like our memory usage is under control now. We're now well below the 6GB that the card actually has. Let's see if we do better now with our minimum frame rate drops. Still dropping into the 30s. Again, the dynamic res scaling is not turned on. Okay, I'm gonna die here, aren't I? Okay, what's my health button? I think I found the health potion button.
We need to patch ourselves up.
Okay, it looks like we're still dropping very low in combat. We'll get through one more bit of combat at these settings, and then we'll try allowing the game to render scale to try to hold 60 FPS. We will see what happens. I need to heal. Maybe I should have put this on easy combat for my gameplay testing. Oh wow, we dropped below 30 FPS. Okay, so we'll try adjusting the render scaling. So we're going to allow the game to try to hit 100. Well, let's try to hit 60. Okay, so we're going to target 60 FPS and allow it to render scale in order to do that. And wow, is it render scaling? That looks quite blurry now. So again, if you think your game looks blurry, that's probably why. You've probably got the render scaling enabled. Because it wasn't really clear in its description that that's what the game is doing, but it is. Okay, even with render scaling, and we're now at the, again, like medium, like standard graphics settings, we are clearly dropping into the upper 40s at least. Let's see if it gets any worse. need to heal.
You okay on potions?
Hey, be safe, guys.
This is the
Okay. I mean, when there's not crazy effects on the screen, it does seem to be able to stay around 60, although it's clearly render scaling in order to do that.
okay.
Let's see how we do when we get in here by these bombs. If I don't die, I might die, guys. Either this game's actually hard or I don't know how to play it. It could be both.
No room for mistakes.
No room for mistakes, guys. Well, we dropped into the 40s there for a bit. And I doubt this is even one of the more demanding areas of the game. This is a fairly small corridor with just a few enemies. Alright, so we're going to take this as an opportunity to hop back out to the title screen. And we're going to go down to the minimum settings and see if we can actually get anywhere near 60 FPS at the minimum settings. I have my doubts. Okay, so we are going to go to graphics settings and we're going to go to minimum. Ooh, immediately it already drops to a 70% resolution scale and has the FPS priority on. I'm going to go ahead and do 100%. So basically it's setting everything to low. By the way, we have texture, shadow quality, shadow distance, anti-aliasing, screen space reflections, ambient occlusion, chromatic aberration, motion blur. All of these are just on-offs here, by the way. These are just on and off. These ones actually have a bit of adjustments. So there's not really a lot to work with here. We're going to hop back into that same area so we can test out. I'll use that as my excuse. I intentionally died at that enemy, you know, so that we could test the same scene again. That's what happened. Okay, at the minimum settings at 1080p with no dynamic scaling, we're still over 3 gigabytes on the memory. So I have a feeling that if you're on a 4 gigabyte card, you might have a chance here. On a 3 gigabyte card, I think you're going to have some problems. We're dropping into the 40s. Remember, this is on the absolute minimum 1080p settings, dropping into the 30s at the absolute minimum 1080p settings. So with that in mind, I think we do need to use render resolution. So the let's let it dynamically scale. So we're gonna let it dynamically scale to target 60 FPS. It's definitely scaling. I could immediately see a loss of sharpness to the image, although we are at 60 FPS now.
Not my best moment.
If we can breathe, we can fight again.
So is the game playable?
Stay out of the fight, unless you want to get cooked.
Let's find another way.
Okay, we dropped into the 40s there for at least a split second. The 50s. I forgot I have, you know, health potions. Okay, we'll give that one more shot. So once again, we are on the absolute minimum settings
We got company.
with render scaling on, trying to target 60.
That was rough.
Sorry if I dropped the ball.
Okay, so that combat went reasonably okay. Oh, wow.
I'm not dead
I need to
yet.
remember to actually heal. Oh wait, I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet? No, I am dead yet. Sorry guys for the staring at the frame rate counter and dying. That's always my excuse in the videos, by the way. If I die, it's because I'm staring at the frame rate counter. Not due to a lack of skill. That's definitely not the problem. Okay, we are dropping into the 40s, even at the absolute minimum settings. Well, I would say that it looks like the game was not exaggerating on the system requirements, where I think it listed the 1060, 6GB for the not only the minimum, but saying it would only get like 720p 30 FPS or something along those lines. And we're definitely having to render scale well below 1080p, and we are definitely not locked to 60, so... And like I said, I doubt this is even the hardest area of the game to run. But I might never find out, because there's a good chance this game might get refunded. The gameplay actually seems fun, so it's a bit of a shame that it has such performance issues. So I wouldn't blame somebody wanting to struggle through it. But yeah, I think I'm going to end it here, guys. I would normally test out 1440p as well, but I don't think this card has any chance considering how bad we're doing at below 1080p. I hope all of you have an excellent day.